I'm Ron Seymour. I'm one of Maurice Seymour's sons. It was nice to hear about the inaugural Maurice Seymour Award on January 31st. It's very gratifying to know that my father's being honored about his ballet photography. I grew up going to the studio and would watch and learn and try to help whenever I could. Uh, their studio was on the roof garden of the St. Clair Hotel on Ohio Street in Chicago. When the ballet companies came to Chicago, like the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo or the American Ballet Theater, their whole companies would come and camp at the studio. The dancers, the costume people, the makeup people would all be there. My father, Maurice, and my uncle, Seymour, would work through the night photographing them. They were drinking and dancing and laughing and having a good time. And it was a pretty amazing experience the few times that I was there when that happened. Uh, Many of his ballet photographs are on my website, which is www.ronseymour.com.
As CDHP continues the work of documenting and presenting dance histories in its own ways, we would like to recognize those who came before us, dedicating their own artistic visions to preserve those of others. Here's to the excellent photographers, writers, videographers, archivists, reporters, and more who contribute so much to the field of dance. The Maurice Seymour Award for Vision and Service recognizes an individual who has demonstrated the ability to see more in the Chicago dance world and made an extraordinary contribution to specific alignment with CDHP's mission to investigate, document, and present the individual and institutional histories of Chicago dance. So the Maurice Seymour Award was named for two brothers, Maurice and Seymour Zeldman, who you heard about a little bit from Maurice's son, Ron. And right now, I'd like to turn it over to Gail Calver, who has been a special consultant for us this past year. Of course, she was the executive director of Hubbard Street for 23 years and worked with other companies like River North, Ballet Chicago, and Ensemble Espagnol. So here to present the Maurice Seymour Award to Scott Silverstein is Gail Calver.
Hi, everyone. I am very, very pleased to be here. Just as Maurice Seymour was two people, little known fact about Scott, he is also two people. And I say that because that is the only way in the world he could have achieved everything that he's achieved in his bio, unless, of course, he was making it up. But I don't think so. And that includes 6 Emmys that he has won himself, 20 with HMS. And I will take an aside to say, give kudos to Matt Hoffman, his partner, who I think has blocked many punches while Scott pursued his charitable work. Scott has produced, collaborated, and designed hundreds of dance, theater, and Broadway productions in Chicago and in New York and all over the world. He is prolific, and anyone who knows Scott knows that he can talk on a variety of subjects endlessly because he is so passionate. He currently serves as artistic associate for the Looking Glass Theater. He's on the advisory board of his beloved company, Giordano Jazz Dance, a former vice president of See Chicago Dance, and in his spare time he has become an active arts advocate. He is on the board of Arts Alliance Illinois, on the legislative committee of Broadway Theaters, and he's the founder and writer of Arts in Action advocacy newsletter. In addition to his generosity of time, resources, and spirit, he has provided countless Chicago dance companies with professional materials to present, promote, and book their companies. And that is no little thing. It is truly appropriate to give Scott this award. And I will tell you, we wanted to honor Scott. There wasn't an award that existed. We just wanted to honor Scott for his work. So we created the award for him. And that's why he's the inaugural recipient. It is truly my pleasure to present the award to Scott Silberman for his documenting, presenting, and preserving Chicago dance for all time. And now I would like to ask his bride, Jackie, to join us. Are you in the other room, Jackie? Come on out. Da, 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 da. Drum roll. And here's Jackie. Well, here we go. Thank you,
man.
Jackie. And Scott, with love and respect,
Wow.
the Maurice Seymour Award, the first one.
Wow. Wow, look at this.
And a
This is
certificate of
unbelievable.
authenticity.
Oh, thank you, guys.
There's a
Oh,
little
wow.
bit of glare, but I think you can see the picture, which is a Maurice Seymour classic.
Wow, look at that. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed.
It's
I
all,
didn't know that was happening.
well, a little surprise.
That's
It's all
that-
yours, Scott. Take it away.
Wow, I'm so grateful. I'm floored. It's not often you get the opportunity for your life to flash before your eyes when you're alive and healthy. So it's really, I'm very grateful for that. And grateful to Ron too. It was great to hear the history of the award. I love learning something new. It strikes me that dance always offers that, you know, not just in the new movement and the new movers that I get to experience, but also new music, new painting, new literature. It staggers me to think not only of the people I wouldn't know without dance, but the art I would otherwise have never been graced with. And it was fun to see that picture of the brothers together. It reminded me a lot of the adventures Matt Hoffman and I have gone on over the years. And whatever vision I have and whatever service I aim to offer, I could not manifest those drives without the HMS team, especially Matt. And gosh, the tributes, again, my life flashing before my eyes. I'm especially moved to see so many people, not only from dance, but across the arts, seeing so many collaborators and friends, and having received so many fantastic messages from my family and other friends and colleagues before today, none of whom I'll ever be able to spend enough time with to my satisfaction. It's just amazing. You know, we've all had such challenging years. And like you, we, the four of us at home here, have had unique whiplash-inducing ups and downs. And what a life-saving joy that Jackie and the kids and I get to feel so connected to you today and always. And so many amazing words today. It's been such a pleasure to listen to so many people and to be reminded of so many things. Seeing Twyla, whose work in the movie Hair, I think is what first made me realize how cool dance and film can work together. I'm reminded of something I heard a lot after the incredible folks at WTTW, and a huge shout out to WTTW and public television, without whom a lot of dance doesn't get on television. When they first aired our very first dance documentary, it was in 1993. It was called Reality of a Dreamer, and it featured what was then called River North Dance Company. And so many folks said to me, I had no idea dancers were that articulate. I remember one person even saying, I didn't realize dancers talked. I wish they could have had some of my experiences, not only interviewing dancers and making performance and documentary specials, but also sitting in on the rehearsals and creating dance pieces from scratch, which I've been able to do as a composer and sound designer. You know, you talk about articulate people doing lots of talking and, more to the point, exquisite listening. Those have been some of the most enlightening and challenging and life-affirming conversations. And it's very telling that I've wanted to bring those energies and experiences to HMS, and that Looking Glass, the theater company where I'm an artistic associate, is so devoted to movement and the energy and the ideas that movement generates. As anyone who knows me will tell you, I love words. I do like speaking them and figuring out how many or few to use and in what order to put them. But even more, I love listening to words. I love listening to people who use them well. And yet my entree into the arts was kind of nonverbal. It was as a pianist and as a composer. And I came to realize later, this was also my entree into dance. Many folks attempt to view dance through the lens of theater, which is understandable in that both art forms we watch, you know, the lights go up, people move through time and space. and the lights go down, but that compels people to quote unquote get it, as in follow a story. But when I saw my first Chicago dance concert, the wonderful Linda Martha Dance Company in 1989, the first company for whom I produced television, created sound design, and composed music, it struck me that dance is what music looks like, and music is what dance sounds like. And very few of us walk through the world thinking we don't get music. We have our taste, but we rarely think we don't get it. As I've often said, there's not a person in the world who ever listened to the first notes of Beethoven's Fifth or heard Ella Fitzgerald's Scat and said, what does that mean? We get it, we know. And we know that with dance. If people did ask, what does that mean? And then spoke with those who create and perform music or dance, they would not experience people incapable of describing what they were doing or word a verse. They would not experience people who couldn't tell you why or how they were doing it. Dancers, like musicians, play with words all the time. They exchange them, they push them to their very boundaries. And realizing that words alone cannot achieve the breadth of ideas considered and the depth of expression desired, the words may limit those ideas and expressions to just those who speak their language. Instead, they go to places both extraordinarily primal and profoundly evolved. They move and they make music. They mainly move. They break down borders and barriers to share notions that all beings, human and otherwise, recognize. So in that way, dance advocates for the heart. Dance advocates for the soul. It's why the city is better for all who have danced and still dance and will continue to dance against whatever odds are out there. So let's just take a minute and talk about those odds and the work we can do to diminish them and overcome them as a community. You know, one of the delights of the name of this award is that it contains the name Seymour and therefore the exhortation to do just that, to see more. And when we look at the name of the extraordinary organization that produced today's event, while the words Chicago Dance and History are all amazing nouns, in this case, they modify the word project. And what is a project but an individual or collective enterprise that is carefully planned to achieve a particular aim? And that aim, to advocate for the symbiotic relationship between the individual and the community, for the balance of listening and responding, of performing and receiving, all in the service of the planet and the souls inhabiting it, through movement in an invitational setting. That is ongoing. It refers to and builds on the past and has an eye on the future, to be sure, but it is always present. It is always now. History is being made right now, in fact, by Chicago Dance History Project, who have made the ultimate yes and move by turning something that has separated us for nearly a year and uniting us for an unforgettable day, which of course couldn't have happened if we all tried to be in the same place because we have a foot of snow on the ground. It's why I think that my job, my life, is ultimately that of an advocate. My efforts to produce, write, develop, direct, edit, compose, design, even occasionally perform, all are there to advocate for humanity, for life. That I get to do it in the dance world is a dream come true. It's my honor to do that out in the world, and even more of an honor to do that with my beloved bride, whom I never would have met were it not for Chicago Dance. It's also worth noting Matt Hoffman would never have met his bride were it not for Chicago Dance. So on behalf of the HMS co-founders, thanks for bringing us into the company of seriously graceful, badass women, of which Chicago Dance is full, thank goodness. My gratitude to you all is perhaps best reflected in this exhortation to all of us, myself included, to continue our advocacy work, artistic or otherwise. And we are all advocates, yes, certainly, as I said before, for the human heart and the soul, but also for ourselves, our communities, our cities, our states, our countries, our world, our universe. However we participate in Chicago Dance, let's do this. Let's pledge to treat ourselves and each other with the beauty, respect, and joy we all deserve, but must continue to earn. Let's fill our companies with people we trust, talented people who know how to both agree and disagree with us, support and challenge us, make us confront our own visions in ways that let us both embrace where those visions came from and honor where they could go from here if we would only let them. Let's fill our boards of directors with people who, as the great Ben Cameron implores, are dedicated to facilitating the work and the vision through foresight and insight, even more than oversight. Let's honor bodies on and off stage. And like the wonderful Resba Menachem invites us to, note that these bodies are filled today, presently, not only with their own individual beauty, but also collective generation-spanning history, most of which we know little about and all of which is filled with the entirety of human experience. Let's dedicate ourselves to supporting and attending the work of artists that not only comfort us and are familiar to us, but also, perhaps even more important, open our eyes and help us grow, which is not always easy, but is always exhilarating, not to mention necessary. To recognize, as the great Anne Ream does, that it is in our power to sweep away the generalizations that lead to the culture wars with our own specific brands of beauty. To not set out to change people's hearts and minds so much as provide the setting and the experiences for people to joyfully, if sometimes uncomfortably, change their own. And let's use words. We've seen their power. We've seen how much damage and division they can cause and how much healing and insight they can offer. It's how we identify the difference between the fatal folly of the man who stands before us saying, "I alone can fix it," against the world-changing wow when Amanda Gorman, the 22-year-old poet, and based how extraordinarily she moved when reciting, says to the country, almost as a dancer on Inauguration Day, "When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light if we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." Through artistic expression, we learn how to abandon the lonely and impossible quests to be right alone. And we surrender to the joyful possibilities of doing good together. And there I can think of no better place to see or experience that than on a dance stage, or maybe even better, in a dance rehearsal room. And as for my role moving forward from here, it's not done. I am always here and available to welcome you into ways I'm pursuing a life in arts advocacy, but more importantly, to be a participant, and I hope eagerly welcomed into your ways of doing that, to be all the more enlightened for that experience. Whether we commune online or in person here in Chicago or throughout Illinois with groups like the Arts Alliance, or even in Washington, D.C., where we can get together and do the real business of the American people on Capitol Hill, the kind dedicated to building and rebuilding the people's house, not destroying it. Please join me, and please allow me the privilege of joining you. You already are advocates. You are already activists. I've seen it. I've felt it. You are the daily reminders of both the great responsibilities and the profound joys of being a part of this dance community, a part of the arts, and a part of the universe. It's why you're here today, and it's why I'm receiving this extraordinary honor, because you have brought out the best in me. As U2 sings in the most challenging love song of the rock era, we both get to carry each other, and we have got to carry each other. So my infinite love and gratitude to you all. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the rest of the day. I'm humbled, I'm grateful. I'm in love with dance, and I'm in love with Chicago dance, and I cannot wait for us to get back together and get back to work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott. Congratulations, and once again, showing us why you deserve such an award.
Thank you. I'm blown away. I'm so happy to be here. And Jenai, you're doing an amazing job today. Thank you. This is hard work. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. But it's fun, so thank you.
It is.